Whenever you are a fool, you will walk towards death. Okay, I obviously hear this story, I'm a fool. Right? I would top better, right? But God will use the foolish things to confound the wise. And that's the reason why I'm telling my testimony, okay? And plus, I'm not the only one that's really stupid, okay? Let me get back to my story. So growing up, my mom, she liked to go to the club. She had left us at the house one day with her friend's kids and her friend's boyfriend, little brother. Now, he was 14 and I was 9 years old. I remember him just having these cute little curls in his head. He was light skinned, had pink lips, you know. He was very handsome. You know, immediately the attraction was there in between the both of us, okay? And everybody had saw it. So we had decided, let's get married. They had pulled out the actual Bible, okay, and we had went inside the living room, and there they had read our vows. Do you take this woman here to be your wife?
Yes, I do.
Do you take this here man to be your husband?
Yes, I do.
You may now kiss the bride. Okay. And then we kissed. And I remember us kissing again underneath the bed. And then it just goes black from there, right? Now, you know, my mom, she still had friends with this woman. And so every now and then we would be able to see each other again, me and this guy, okay? And it was just so precious to us to spend time with each other, okay? And as I got older, he would find ways to be able to come to our house. So he would bring video games and the PlayStation, said that my brothers could even have the PlayStation if I could just spend time with you and your family and your sister. It would be that they're in one room playing video games and he's in the room talking with me. He seemed to me to be just very infatuated with me. A part of me was scared of him because he was so infatuated with me, but a part of me liked it because no one else had ever clung to me the way that he did. Okay? And so I remember being in foster care and he had walked in the snow to just come visit me. And I remember being on the couch with him and he just rubbed my feet. I like that you're here because I don't have anybody else here. My family wouldn't reach out to me. I didn't have very many friends. I was in foster care, you know, just trapped in my abandonment, you know. And so in that, I didn't like some things about him that were perverted in a sense, and how he had seemed to obsess over me. But in another way, I liked it because at least someone cared to remember me. At least someone had cared to care about me, you know? So I found myself leaving this man, getting back with this man, leaving this man, getting back with this man. And I just want to say something really fast. Write down your thoughts. Write down the reason why you had did things, because there's going to come a time whenever the opportunity presents itself again, and you're not going to remember why you chose to make the choice you made last time. So remember, your best memories don't have nothing on old ink. Write it down. Make sure you can go back and remember, okay? And so like I said before, I was in foster care, okay? It got to the point where I was 17 years old. So I had been removed from the transitional living facility program because I had gotten to a fight with the girl. They had demoted me back into like the regular group homes. I would have my TV in my room. I wouldn't give them my phone no more. I would go to work. I'm not giving my money to nobody because you'd have to give over your money to them so they could put it inside your savings account, right? And I wouldn't do none of that. I wouldn't work in the program no more. I don't care what y'all say. Like, I'm just done, you know? I tapped out. And so with that, I knew that there was going to be a notice coming in about me going somewhere else. So also the foster dad, he had kind of hinted.
Well, you know, it only gets worse from here.
So he pretty much hinted that I'd be going to a RTC. Well, I'm not going to a residential treatment center. I'm not getting locked down. And so I was going through this alternative program, and I decided to run away that day. I walked up the street to my grandmother's house. And at that point, beloved, she had let me in the house, okay? Now, I knew this wasn't going to last very long because she's older. And I knew that I needed structure, right? I knew that pretty much because she just loved me. And because I had ran away initially and ended up in foster care, I believe that she had guilt in her heart. And so she didn't want to see me leave, right? And so I think about Adam and Eve, right? Adam had watched Eve eat the apple, and he had ate it too, not because he didn't know better, but because he didn't want to be without her, right? It was a choice that he made to be gone too, right? So I believe that my grandmother, she had allowed me to do whatever I wanted to do because she didn't want me to go, okay? And so she would buy me cigars. She would let me smoke. I was 17 years old. Like, she didn't really put too much mandate on me going to school. I dropped out of school, And in that, I loved her for it. And our relationship had grew, but it also had weakened because I realized I didn't want to be a loser. I realized that I needed structure. I needed somebody to help me, to tell me what to do, because I knew it wasn't right? So in me, I started talking to the same guy I was talking to back when I was a kid. Like I said before, we were off and on, right? He said that he was in Hollis, Oklahoma. He was doing good. He was working on his dairy farm with cows and stuff. And that he said in Oklahoma that whenever you're 17, you're considered an adult. And that he had a job lined up for me at this nursing home, okay, as like a food service person or something like that, right? A food handler. Wow. Yes. And then he said that they have a program at the school. They have a program in the school that allows you to like get your GED and stuff like that. Okay, this is like yes. Let's do that. Like, this is like a godsend, right? This is a godsend, right? I tell my grandmother I'm leaving, okay? And this man shows up in a red truck. I'm excited. I see the red truck pull up, right? And what I see is him get out the back. So I'm immediately like, what's that about? He gets out the back of the truck and he's like, my friends are going to help us. They're going to help us move, and I was like, your friends? And so I look at the friends and it's these old white people. And it's the husband who's driving, and then it's the wife who's like guiding the husband to drive, okay? As I'm riding with them as they drive, I find out that the husband had a stroke. And so his wife was teaching him how to drive again. So Kenny, this is his name, I don't even care about telling his name, had said, well, I have a friend I need to come pick up, and maybe you could practice driving while, doing that. And so they had agreed, okay? And so with that being said, the older woman, she was a little worried. She seemed concerned. She said, how old are you? You look very young. I said, I'm 17. And they're just looking at each other because they know that Kenny is 5 years older than me. So although, yes, I'm 17, he is 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. He's 22 years old, 21 or 22 years old, okay? He's a grown man. But my point being is, they was like, none of circus, not our monkey, okay? And so they let it be. All right. So they pulled up to Hollis, Oklahoma, which I found out is nothing. No disrespect towards Hollis, Oklahoma, but it's nothing, okay? And so I found out that father and him lived in a house of a woman who had went into the nursing home. It still had all of her stuff in the house. It was very dusty. It was like a little intimidating, okay? Went for the job, okay? And so I went up there, and yeah, his cousin did work up there, and yeah, they did have jobs available, but not for me. They didn't even know who I was. With the school, that wasn't a thing. None of this was a thing, okay? Lo and behold, he lied, all right? And so with that being said, I called my CPS caseworker. Sis, I'm in Hollis, Oklahoma.
You're in what?
Yeah. Can you come get me? I'm at this and this address, right? that, she agrees. She had to get permission from her supervisor to cross state lines to come get me, right? I told him, hey, I'm leaving. She gonna be here any minute now, right? And he's just bawling. I mean blubbering. I mean like water going down his eyes, just snot, just ugh. But yet you was texting other girls talking about, have you ever been with an older man before? You're texting kids, you know, my age and younger. Have you ever been with an older man before? You know, stuff like that, just weird stuff, you know. And then you're not trying to feed me because you say you would love, you're not hungry no more, you know. And then like in intercourse, he would say weird stuff like,
you ain't never gonna leave me. If you leave me, I'ma find you.
You know, just like, I don't really want to hear that, you know. And so anyways, I had left. Boom. Like, I learned my lesson. You would think, right? Went back with this man a couple times, okay? Now, one time, it was 7 times in total, okay? 7 is the number of completion, okay? But it was 7 times in total I had got with this man. Left this man, got back with this man. Left this man, got back with this man. Started from whenever I was 9 years old, okay? And so anyways, my point being is that there was one time that had stuck out to me. Now this time I was in my early 20s and he had just had a baby by another girl, okay? And after the girl had the baby, she didn't really like him no more, you know? It was her first child, and how he explained it was that she just felt like he had tricked her into sin. They were friends at church, you know? And so my point being is that me and him decided to get together, you know, because I had already had a son at that point. And so I met the baby and I immediately hated this baby. I was like something spiritual. And so it worked better whenever the baby was gone, all right? Whenever the baby was at the mom's house, okay? And so anyways, one day we were having dinner, okay, at my apartment. We were having dinner and something about the way he ate had irritated me, okay? Because he would eat with the fork like he was some type of brute, you know? He would like eat like this, you know? He would scrape the food and he would eat like this, you know? And I'm thinking like, you should probably eat like that, you know? Like, that's how I eat. I don't eat, you know, like that. And so I explained to him, like, I don't think you should hold the spoon like that. I don't think you should hold the fork like that because, you know, it's just, you know, really irritating. And something in his eyes grew dark. I mean, like black. And he like clenched his jaw. And I knew at that point there was something, like, I didn't know if he was angry that I said that. I don't know what the case is, but that's whenever I planned to leave him alone again. Yeah, that ain't right. I don't like that. Later on, I would end up getting married. And so we had moved into a house together, and I get a phone call from an old friend, okay? So this is my mom's friend's son, okay? This is the one who actually married me and Kenny back when we were 9 and he was 14 years old. He got on the phone.
Oh, congratulations, I heard you're married.
Yeah, that's right, I'm married.
I got somebody I want to talk to.
Huh?
Hello, I heard that you were...
It's Kenny. Ding. That's disrespectful, so now I'm not talking to neither one of you, okay? What is that about? You know? And it made me so angry. It made me a little bit too angry. It was like something spiritual, you know? It just made me like, it just rocked me, you know, to my core, you know? He had gave me just feelings of like uneasiness, okay? Because he would pop up at random times, Kenny would, and he would just try to make excuses on why he wanted to talk to me, you know? And it was just very odd to me, and I thought it was like kind of stalkerish, right? Like a stalker, like, right? And so I had thought I should go ahead and start making police reports, so every time you try to contact me without my permission, I need to have this on file that you did that, right? That's how weird it got, okay? But like I said before, like with time, you will forget stuff. So even your best memories don't hold nothing to putting it down on paper and pencil, okay? Put it down, write down the reason why you did stuff, okay? Because with time, with memory, with forgiveness, you know, if you're not walking around in bitterness, you don't even remember, like, I don't know why I stopped talking to them, girl, you know, because I'm free. Later on, you know, me and my husband, we did not work out, okay? But now I'm a housekeeper, okay? This is more recent, okay? I'm a housekeeper here, okay? I live here now on a farm, all right? And I had a dream. So I had a dream that there was 4 men, okay? And I sat each one down on the couch, okay? Each man I sat down on the couch, okay? And then as I was walking away, I came back, right? And there was a man on the end of the couch, and I looked at him in his face. And then I went and I punched every single one of the men. Boom, 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 boom. And then I had walked away, okay? And there was a man at the door waiting for me, and I left with him. Okay? Whenever I woke up, I understood that I would be getting married. Okay, that I'm going to meet the right one. I knew that much, right? Prophetically, I knew that much. This was a prophetic dream. This is what God was sending to me, you know. But oftentimes, God will send you a dream as warning, okay, as forbearance, so that way you know what's going to happen. You know, you have some type of inkling, okay? You know what's going to happen, okay? I knew I sat down 4 men. And I knew I looked the last one, and then I went back and I punched. Boom, 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 boom. I punched all 4 of them, and then I had left to go be with a man. Then to me, people from my past began to flood my inbox, okay? I had one guy who had contacted me, and I knew for a fact, oh no, I know that you beat women. I know that you are crazy. I don't care if you are, he's a captain of, like, he flies airplanes and stuff, you know, he's like a captain or whatever it is, you know, and you would think that this is like a great man. No, he's crazy, and I found that out, and I'm not gonna forget. Some memories, oh yeah, oh, I remember you, you know. And then there was another man, okay, now I knew him to be a whoremonger. He says things, but it's not really true, and he just this way, that way, you know. He'll go into it with his heart, but he'll be over here talking to such and such, okay? And then there was another man that had came, okay? And I just totally dusted him off, okay? And then there was that 4th man, okay? Now, at 12, Kenny had messaged me, okay? This was in a matter of 24 hours. I had 4 men reach out to me, okay? And Kenny had messaged me. He didn't message me trying to holler at me. He said, I'm not trying to holler at you, you know, this, that, and the third. I was just, you know, seeing how you're doing or something like that, you know. And I said, oh, well, you know, I'm doing fine. You know, how are you doing, you know? And then after that of like opening the door back to him, right? That's whenever he was like, you know, would you be open to having a date? Would you be open to just having a date to get, you know, to know each other again, you know? And I was like, you know, I'm not really against that, actually. I'm not, like, really against that. Because, you know, on his Facebook profile, baby, like, he looks like a man of God. He posts about Christian stuff. I remember even in Hollis, Oklahoma, whenever I was there, we went to church together, okay? And that meant a lot to me. One of the reasons why my relationship with my husband didn't work whenever I got married was because he refused to go to church, okay? You know, and it just seemed like this is a man of God, you know. I'm gonna go ahead and try him out and see what happens. You know, he was moving into an apartment, okay? And so I had took it upon myself to help him move. I feel like it's in my heart to help you, right? So I asked him, I said, what all do you need? He said, I need lotion, I need mouthwash, I need, you know, this, that, and the third. So I had brought him an air fryer. I brought him, you know, certain things, you know, to help him with his move. I got to the house, to his apartment, you know, he said that he needed help moving in all his stuff. You know, he hadn't done it yet. And that, like, the lights had turned off at the other apartment and this, that, and the third, you know. And so I came over ready to help him finish moving the rest of the stuff from his other apartment into this house, into his apartment right now, okay? But whenever I got there, everything was already moved in, and he said that he was going to leave the couches and stuff, you know, that he was going to get new couches from elsewhere, you know, but they weren't like ready yet or something, you know, just some type of excuse, you know, he came up with, you know, but he had moved everything else in already. Okay, cool. And so I'm like, well, I'm already here, like, and I was supposed to be helping you move. Like, do you need help with anything? And he was like, nope. And it was weird to me because I came to help him move, right? And I just remember him being in the corner and he like smiled really big and he covered his middle part and he just and I thought it's because obviously like you're happy to see me, you're probably horny, like that's obviously like what it looks like, I had put it upon myself to step up and become like mama of the house. I just like got right into my role, So we had drove back after helping him move. Okay. Spent a few days over there. I decided to come back for around my birthday time. I decided to come back. Okay. He also invited us to go to church. Now this to me was like everything. Okay. So he had invited us to go to church. So he drove down here to spend one day with us, and then we would go back up there to spend Sunday up there, okay? So this time, whenever he came down here, he was here for a day, and I had noticed that he felt the need to show me that he had a knife inside of his truck, okay? It was like a machete, okay? And it was wrapped up in like a piece of cloth. And so he showed me, and he said that he was always safe because he had this knife, okay? That night, we had went to Walmart. He had insisted that all of us would get out the car and all of us would go inside of Walmart. Or we could just leave the kids in the car and then me and him go inside Walmart. But he wasn't going inside, I wasn't going inside Walmart by myself, And so I was like, okay. So I had to get all the kids out the car at the same time. In that, I ended up losing my wallet and my phone, okay? By the grace of God, somebody had turned it in. With that being said, you have to realize that some things that happens, you have to realize that it might be something more supernatural going on. You might be getting warned by losing something and then finding it, And I had bought us dinner for that afternoon, okay? So I had got a pack of hamburger patties and I had got chocolate chip cookies, okay? And I had decided to go ahead and, we'll cook that for this afternoon and we'll eat that with like French fries and stuff, And so we ate that and then we had left on the road that night. Well, that night, they were putting on a fireworks show in Amarillo, okay? And so as you're driving up, you can see fireworks, okay? And so I'm thinking to myself, like, I remember the last time going to this man's house and he didn't have no food, very little food, okay? And this man, he needs me, okay? So I'm praying, God, please help me to provide, And that's whenever he had called me. He said, hey, look at what we got. What do we get? And he said that we had got hamburgers, hot dogs, and chocolate chip cookies. He said that they were there by where they were throwing the fireworks and stuff, the fireworks show, and that he had rolled down the window and there was a man out there, and the man with like a whole bunch of hot dogs and stuff like that and hamburgers and stuff.
He said, oh, that's a lot of food you got right there,
And the man was like,
oh, here, you can have it.
So I had gave him the food, okay? So when we got back to the apartment, we had food to eat for the next 2 days. By the grace of God, thank you, Jesus. So I didn't have to foot the bill, right? And so anyways, went inside of his bathroom and realized like he still hadn't gotten any toothpaste or or a toothbrush. And I'm thinking, you already living here, you don't have a toothbrush or toothpaste, you just don't brush your teeth, but his breath didn't stink, so I was just trying to figure out and so anyways, I was like, you know what, we'll just eat tonight, we'll go to church in the morning, and then after church, I'll be able to I'll go to the store and I'll buy us I'll buy you some toothpaste and toothbrush, And so I told him listen, you got to make sure you're taking a shower. I told him whenever you get home, you got to take a shower. You got to wash your face. You got to do this, got to do that. He didn't like it that I told him that, right? He kind of looked at me and he just it was like he didn't really want to do it. but it was like I was asking him to do it. So like it took him a moment, but he had like resistance, but he still took a shower, right? And so anyways, we had went to church that morning, right? At his church. And immediately the Holy Spirit had fell, okay? It was a very spiritual service, but there wasn't any substance in the word. Instead, the pastor had read this very long poem, okay? And we had a long worship service. It was different, right? And so anyways, at the end of service, everybody had got up and we started meeting. Hello, my name is Brianna Gardner. Woo. And actually, so this church had some of my family members in it, okay? Some of the fosters in there, okay? And so I had recognized some of them from my grandfather, my step grandpa, who's a reverend, okay? And so I recognized some of them. Hello, you know, this, that, and the third. They say, hey, this is a good woman, Kenny. This is a good woman. You better not mess it up. You know, this is a good woman right here you have, you know, such and such. The pastor and the pastor's wife, they shake my hand, okay? And we're getting acquainted with each other. We're talking to each other. There's something spiritual going on, okay? Because like the Holy Spirit fell in a different manner, okay? I'm not sure exactly what happened, but it was something going on, okay? Kenny comes up and he says, hey, he had like this box, okay? He had this cardboard box, and in the cardboard box, it was like random stuff, okay? It looked like someone had like right there on their bathroom, like they had gathered like all the stuff off of their bathroom and like they had put it inside of the cardboard box, okay? It had like toothpaste in it, like used toothbrushes, not like a new toothbrush, okay? It had a blade in there, just like the poopery spray, but it was empty, you know, and just random stuff, you know, bars of soap and stuff like that. Literally, like someone had just cleaned off their own, you know, area and brought the box in. Like they were just being crazily obedient to God, you know, is what it seemed like, you know, or they're just, I don't know. And so anyways, he was saying that the man in the back had brought it. So I looked back there and there was a man in a black trench coat, okay, sitting next to another man. And I had waved at him and he had waved at me. And there was like something in me, like this man seems familiar, like I know this man, okay? And so we had the box, right? Yes, I'm in. I don't even have to. So all I had to do was get toothbrushes. Now, mind you, before I had left, I felt the Holy, because when we were at Walmart, I felt the Holy Spirit tell me, you need to get toothbrushes, you know? But I was like, I'm not getting no toothbrushes because we have toothbrushes. And the Holy Spirit was telling me that I need to get toothpaste, okay? Again, like, I didn't feel the need to get toothpaste because I don't even brush my teeth with toothpaste, okay? So why would I get that, you know? And so I just pray in the future that I be more obedient, okay? Because everything matters. Everything matters, okay? And so anyways, I had went to the store, got toothbrush. I had went to the store, Walmart, after we had left church. And all I had to get was the toothbrushes, okay? And so we went back to the house and we was chilling out. I had got some food, some groceries too for the house as well. He had went to work. I had decided, hey, I'm gonna stop during your break. I'm gonna grab you some pizza, okay? I'm gonna grab you some pizza from Sam's Club because it's like $2.50 for the drink plus the pizza. I went over there to his job. He worked at Tyson, okay? Went over there to his job and I had brought him the pizza and stuff, you know? And whenever he went to like eat the pizza, that's whenever I saw that all his teeth was rotted in the back. And it was like someone had took, it's as if someone had like took a hammer and like busted out his teeth, okay, in the back, okay? Because they were cracked and they were sharp and they were rotten in the back. He didn't have no teeth, you know, he was losing his teeth back there. But in the front, it looked okay until you looked closer and you saw that it was, you know, rotted as well, okay?